It happened so fast that no one could react. One moment, the photography studio at Jefferson High buzzed with chatter and the hum of fluorescent lights. The next, there was a crash so loud it silenced the room. A camera hit the floor, shattering into pieces. In the same heartbeat, a tall senior named Brad Cooper had his arm pressed hard across Mrs. Taylor's chest, pinning her against the counter. The lens rolled across the tiles in slow circles, the sound echoing through the stunned classroom. Every student froze where they stood. But Mrs. Taylor didn't. Her expression didn't show fear, not even surprise. Her eyes locked on his, steady, sharp, unblinking, like someone who'd seen danger before. The kind of danger that makes this moment look small. And in the next few seconds, something happened that would end Brad's promising football career, turn Jefferson High upside down, and change how everyone saw the quiet photography teacher they thought they knew. Lauren Taylor was 34, in her third year of teaching digital arts and photography. She was calm, polite, and patient. The kind of teacher who stayed late to help struggling students and never raised her voice. Her wardrobe was simple dark jeans, clean sneakers, a plain blazer. Her hair was always tucked neatly behind her ears. Most students liked her. They said she was kind. But others, like Brad Cooper, saw her gentleness as weakness. Brad was Jefferson High's golden boy. Quarterback, senior, popular. His father sat on the city council and donated generously to the school's football program. Teachers often looked the other way when he crossed the line. He was used to getting away with things. Teasing smaller kids, mocking teachers, bending rules until they snapped. Lauren had seen him do it before, but every time she addressed it, he'd smirk, apologize just enough to sound sincere, and walk away laughing. That Friday afternoon, the students were working on a still life project. The air smelled of coffee and photo paper. Music played softly from a Bluetooth speaker. Brad and his friends were fooling around at the back, tossing a tennis ball across the room while others tried to focus. One careless throw hit a freshman named Ely in the shoulder. His camera, a school-issued Nikon, slipped from his hands and crashed to the floor. The lens cracked clean down the middle. The class went quiet, except for Brad's laughter. Lauren walked over, calm but firm. She told them to stop. Brad muttered something under his breath, something about her being a nobody. When she asked him to repeat it, he stood up slowly, a smirk spreading across his face. He towered over her, arms crossed, testing how far he could go. His friends watched, waiting to see if she'd back down. Lauren didn't. She told him to sit down. Maybe it was the authority in her voice. Maybe it was the laughter behind him. But something inside Brad snapped. In one sudden motion, he lunged forward, pressing his arm against her chest, shoving her hard into the counter. Students screamed. Tripods fell. The sound of metal and glass filled the air, but Lauren didn't flinch. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes didn't widen. In that instant, something old inside her woke up, something she had tried to bury for years. Without hesitation, she moved. Her hand grabbed his wrist, twisted, and swept his legs out from under him. The entire motion took less than 2 seconds. Before anyone could process what happened, Brad was face down on the tile floor, his arm locked behind his back, completely immobilized. His friends stared wide-eyed. It wasn't just a defensive move, it was control. Precision. The kind of movement that comes from years of training. Brad tried to struggle, but the pressure on his shoulder stopped him instantly. Mrs. Taylor's voice cut through the stunned silence. It was steady, controlled. She told him to stop resisting, he did. And when she finally released him, she stood upright again, adjusting her blazer as if nothing had happened. The class stood frozen, unable to believe what they'd seen. The quiet art teacher had just taken down the most intimidating kid in school, and she did it without breaking a sweat. Word spread across Jefferson High in minutes. Videos surfaced online, though none showed the full story. By the time Mrs. Taylor escorted Brad to the principal's office, his father had already been called. He arrived within the hour, angry and loud, demanding answers. He accused her of assault and threatened to sue the school. Lauren stood quietly as he ranted, her posture calm, her voice low when she finally spoke. She said she acted in self-defense, that he had initiated physical contact, that she restrained him using a non-lethal control technique until he stopped resisting. Her words were precise, rehearsed even. The principal looked puzzled. A control technique. Lauren hesitated. She had promised herself she would never talk about that part of her life. But she knew there was no hiding it now. Before becoming a teacher, Lauren Taylor had served 10 years in the United States Air Force as part of the Security Forces Division, the military's law enforcement branch. She had been trained in combat, defense, crisis response, and high-risk operations. She had seen combat zones and led rescue operations overseas. But after losing her best friend to an explosion during a convoy mission, she left the service, desperate for a quieter life. She wanted peace. Teaching had been her escape, a way to build instead of destroy. The room went still. Even Brad's father fell silent. The principal leaned forward. "So you were trained for situations like this?" She looked at him evenly and said, "I was trained for much worse." The school board reviewed the footage and interviewed witnesses. Every student confirmed she had been attacked first. The grainy camera footage captured just enough: the shove, the counter, the fall. Within days, Brad Cooper was suspended indefinitely. The colleges that had been recruiting him quietly withdrew their offers. His reputation as Jefferson's golden boy vanished overnight. But something else happened in the weeks that followed. The atmosphere at Jefferson High shifted. Students who used to laugh at others grew quieter, more respectful. The shy ones, like Ely, started to speak up. Even the ones who used to snicker behind her back now greeted her politely. Something about that day had changed more than just one boy's future. It had changed the culture of the classroom. One afternoon, when the room was empty, Lauren stood by the window, watching students file out across the courtyard. She thought about how easily things could have gone differently. She never wanted to use her training again, but maybe it wasn't something to hide. Maybe it was part of who she was, a part that could still protect, still teach, still make a difference. The door opened softly behind her. It was Eli. He lingered near the doorway, clutching his repaired camera. He looked up at her and said quietly, "Thanks for standing up to him. For not being afraid." She smiled faintly, the sunlight catching the edge of her glasses. In that moment, she realized courage isn't about the battlefield. It's about the choices we make when no one expects us to stand tall. As Eli walked away, Lauren turned back to the window, her reflection faint in the glass. The chaos of that day had changed everything. Not just for Brad, not just for the school, but for her. The teacher they once overlooked had become something more. A reminder that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it simply stands its ground and says quietly, "Enough."